All right, so here we are with another of the Spin Master Batman Forever Retro Collection unboxing, and this is the Riddler. There we go, the Riddler, and there's the piece of artwork at the top there. Nice piece of artwork, I think. I think they really captured Jim Carrey's likeness in that artwork. Probably more so than the figure, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Here's the cross-cell artwork on the back highlighting the Riddler, and then we have Batman, Robin, and Two-Face. So, honestly, I'm thinking this one's probably going to be the weakest of the bunch. And if it's not the weakest of the bunch, it's only because Two-Face has that gigantic hand. Oh, we're going to talk about that some more, because I've got some more things actually to say about Two-Face's hand once we open this guy up. But first, before we do that, I do have with me the original 1997 Kenner version of the Riddler that this sculpt was mostly based on. And you can see over here on the wall behind me, one of the figures I have hanging up is actually a carded version of this particular repaint of the Riddler. And this, oddly enough, was a Target exclusive. How about that? So this was released back in 1997, and it was a repaint of the Riddler, the basic Riddler figure, so that they could sell it as an exclusive. You can see that rather than having some unique artwork on here, excuse me, they've just got the Batman Forever poster art, which means this is probably the only time I think that these three figures in this wave, that Chase Meridian was featured as a character on any of the packaging artwork, because she didn't get a figure. So the other two figures in this were Bruce Wayne Batman, who was a repaint of transforming Bruce Wayne, and what was he called? Tide Racer Robin, who was a repaint of Hydroclaw Robin, which ironically enough, we'll be talking about him on the next episode a little bit, because that was what they chose as the basis for their retro collection figure. Anyway, so yeah, they repainted this figure 3 times. Well, they repainted him twice. There was 3 different versions of it, and this was the first one. And you can see that it's not exactly a movie accurate costume. For one thing, he's got a lot of this tech stuff strapped to him that wasn't in the movie, including this big old screen on his chest. And you can see that he has some gloves that match the same color as his hair. So this color, like in the movie, it seems to vary between orange and pink, depending on how the lighting is. And I believe that the lady responsible for Jim Carrey's hair and makeup in the movie called this color coral, which of course would be kind of an orangish pink or a pinkish orange, depending on how you look at it. So that explains why in some images it looks a little more pink, and in some images it looks a little more orange. But yeah, they caught that color pretty well on this figure, I think. The best thing about this figure is the coloring, because I think the coloring kind of nailed the coloring in the movie. I'm pretty sure that's the same exact green that he had in the movie, whereas you can see this one looks a little more washed out. One thing that they did not do very well, I don't think, is the question marks. You can see they're rather large, and they're all kind of facing in the same direction, whereas this one got it right with having the question marks kind of more looking like they're swirling around the costume. So anyway, let's go ahead and have a closer look at, since I'm not going to open that one up, the previous Target exclusive Batman Forever Riddler. And we can see that this one's in more of a pearlescent sea green kind of color. The question marks have been recolored as purple, and all the tech and straps and everything that are attached to them have been recolored in silver. He's got the same just kind of random staticky looking sticker on there. Maybe it's supposed to be a brainwave or something. I don't know. But yeah, the only real difference in terms of the paint masking is you can see that this one has black shoes, but this one has green shoes that match his leggings. So that's the one part of the paint masking that doesn't match up. Otherwise, it's all the same paint in all the same places, just different colors. So you can see that he's got silver cords around his head rather than black cords on the original figure. But there's just silver on this one, and then all this tech and everything is silver. And also, forgot to point out, he's got a slightly more silvery backpack than the original one did. The original one's just a little more darker. This one's a little brighter. Anyway, this is how the backpack worked. Is you kind of flip it back this way, and then you're supposed to press this little black button on the back, and it flips the brain drain helmet around. And if you've got a Batman figure handy or a Robin figure handy, and I do have a Robin figure handy, we can go ahead and just snap the helmet onto his head, and then he's having his brain drained by the box. So that's how that worked. And there was a third recoloring of this figure, and I do not have the accessories for this one, but it was basically they just recycled the question mark bazooka from the Batman the Animated Series Riddler figure. But this is actually my favorite deco for this figure. And basically they just reversed the coloring from the first one. So he's got a black suit with green question marks on it and green tech doodads all over. For some reason, they didn't reverse his hat. He's still got a green hat with a black question mark on it, which the original one did not have a question mark on it, oddly enough. But you can see he's got black cables on his hat this time. Black mask. They did get the mask black, and since the mask is black, I should go ahead and point this out. The other two Riddler figures, you can see if you look at his eyes, they just kind of painted this kind of black sort of comma sort of shape almost. And I feel like that captured the flavor of the character pretty well, even though it's much more simplified. But the black suit version has white, since he's got, already wearing a black mask. Obviously, it wouldn't make much sense to have black eyes on a black mask, so they made his eyes white. But also, I really like on this one is that the computer screen now has got this green computer screen with black question marks on it, and I like to think about excuse me. I like to think about the question marks as kind of bouncing around like it's a screensaver or something. I think that looks really cool. And all three of these also did have this control mounted into his hand, which I rather liked. Around this time in the comics, they just wrapped up the Nightfall storyline, and there was a portion of that where the Riddler had tied a bunch of chair rails to his chest to look like a bomb, and he was on TV, like, making people answer his riddles, or he was going to blow himself up. So it kind of reminded me of the Dead Man switch that he had in that. So I was kind of imagined that being some kind of human bomb setup. Anyway, like I said, this isn't a particularly accurate version of the Riddler as he appeared in the movie. So I think this is probably why I like this coloration best of all these figures, because he doesn't really look much like the Riddler in the movie anyway, so we might as well take some liberties with it. And, let me grab one more thing. Sorry, I forgot to grab this before. All right. I'm back. Okay. So there was also this mold of the Riddler, which they used a different head for to make the talking Riddler, because that was supposed to be in his outfit from the very end of the movie, where he had the white devil haircut, Ace Ventura, you can remember that. But this one is much more accurate to the movie. You can see it's got the kind of swirly question marks and everything. He's got the fingerless sleeves rather than gloves, and that's what he looked like in the movie. But this was not the main Riddler figure. This was one that was in a 2-pack with a Two-Face figure. So you had to spend a little more money to get the actual movie accurate version. Or if you wanted the talking Riddler, of course, that was a deluxe figure, so that cost a little bit more. But what kid in the 90s is going to want to resist Jim Carrey's voice coming out of an action figure in a very sort of scratchy, barely recognizable fashion. It ain't like the technology kids got today where they could probably replicate it exactly. Anywho, where did I put it? Where did it go? There, it fell on the floor. All right. So, then we cut to today where Spin Master has reissued this figure, somewhat reissued this figure. So let's go ahead and open him up, and we're going to talk about some of the differences between this one and the previous figures that Kenner made, and you know, the articulation and whatnot, and whether or not you should even bother to buy this figure. So let's go ahead and have a look at him. Got him off the card. And I do really like the packaging on this. I'll point that out again. I like how it's not exactly replicating the old Batman Forever packaging, but it does capture the flavor of it, I think. I think I forgot to point out there are some like swirly question marks in the background there that weren't present on the original Kenner figures. I think that's a nice touch. Anyway, here we go with our Riddler out of the package. No twist ties, no rubber tabs. Just as I like it. Just pull him out of the package. He doesn't need that crap. One other thing that's odd about this figure, the original version of the figure as well. I'm going to take off the backpack so we can just kind of compare them a little more straight. And it carries on into this version as well, is the back of the figure is just kind of oddly flat. There's like almost no detail of any kind of anatomy there. Like, you know, to show this version of the Riddler, for example, you can see that he's got, you know, the back muscles and, you know, the shoulder blades and, you know, got the buttocks sculpted in there because it's Joel Schumacher. You're going to have to show off his butt. But yeah, this is a much better, not just a more accurate figure to the movie, but a much better sculpted figure than the basic Riddler figure. I kind of feel like the basic Riddler figure is kind of lacking just in terms of like the way that he's sculpted. Anyhow, let's talk a little bit more about this one. So, like I pointed out before, they did the question marks more matching up to how it was in the actual movie. Likely this one, where you see the question marks are kind of swirling all the way around the character, not just all straight up and down like on the previous Kenner Riddler figure. So that's a nice touch. One thing that I noticed about this character that I really dislike is check out his hair. He's got brown hair. Like, how did you screw that up? Everybody knows the Riddler is supposed to have that, again, that coral color to the hair. And, you know, that's famously the hair color the character had in the movie. I think it's supposed to be a wig. But yeah, he's just got like regular brown hair. So what's up with that? And you can see that with this version, they did the eyes as white instead of black, and I don't think that works quite as well. And for whatever reason, I don't think this one has as good of a Jim Carrey likeness as the Kenner version. And it's weird, because looking at it, I think it's pretty much the same sculpt. Like, this one had the same face sculpt, they just had the hair exposed. And, you know, this is the same, it's the same head, it's the same face sculpt. But yeah, I don't know what it is that's throwing it off. I think it might even just be the paint is doing it, because unlike the original Kenner figure, where it's a head that's molded in Caucasian flesh-colored plastic, this one is actually molded in green plastic to match his hat, and then the skin is painted on. And I don't know, maybe that's just what's throwing it off. It doesn't look quite as much like Jim Carrey as the other one did. It's not a bad likeness, really, but it's still not as great as it could be. Now, with the other Riddler figures, the Kenner ones, that screen on his chest is a sticker. But this is not a sticker, I don't think. This is like just kind of tampographed on there. And rather than the kind of just generic brainwave static looking pattern that the two green Kenner Riddlers have, this one's more of like it's actually a picture of the box that's kind of tampographed on there. Josh Anthony, sorry, says, "Indeed, it's never too late to collect your childhood or recollect them. As someone who is in his early 40s, I have begun to collect vintage trading cards from the 80s and 90s. I commend you for your passion." Well, thank you, and likewise to you. Good luck collecting all them trading cards. I know, me being a big Batman fan, the trading cards I always obsessed over were the 1989 Batman trading cards. And I was like so psyched for that movie. And I bought a lot of the merchandise from the time, action figures, T-shirts, what have you, the Prince soundtrack, basically anything I could get my hands on. But those trading cards obsessed me. I got so many of them. But yeah, going back to the action figure, like I said, you can see that the green is a bit more vibrant, and I think a little more screen accurate on the Kenner version, and a little more washed out on the Spin Master version. And the other change that's like really obvious is, instead of the hand with the control attached to it permanently, this one just has a solid fist, and you can see they straightened out the arm, so it's not cocked out to the side anymore like that. It's just straight, straight up and down, basically. So he's got like a solid fist to it, and there's the other hand, and you can see that with this one, like I said, they've got the fingerless gloves rather than they're actually attached to the sleeve rather than having gloves like the original version does. But one thing that I observed as I was looking at the hands on these is, I think that they actually used the same hand sculpt for both of these figures. But of course, the Riddler's hands aren't anywhere near as gigantic as Harvey's hands, which are just huge ham-like slabs of flesh. So, you ever see Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? Remember the character that Mark Hamill played in there? Cockknocker with the giant fist? That's what he reminds me of. He reminds me of Cockknocker. But yeah, looking at it, like, it's the same basic shape. I think they probably just use the same digital sculpt. The main difference I know is they put kind of like simple veins onto the back of Two-Face. That's almost kind of like triangular shape, but that's not on the Riddler at all. But I think they do share the same hands. It's just, for whatever reason, Two-Face's is enormous. I don't know why they did that. Doesn't make any sense to me at all. All right. So basically, the thing I can tell you about this one is the same thing that I told you about Two-Face. And that's that, the original Batman Forever Riddler figure that Kenner made back in the 90s is very plentiful and very easy to find for cheap. In fact, I would say if you went and looked on eBay right now, last time I checked anyway, and probably still today, you could probably find this original Kenner figure with no accessories on eBay for maybe like $6 shipped, and get that. And if you find them in a lot, like I said, anytime somebody's got a lot of Batman figures, you're apt to find one of these because it's a very common figure. So what's the point in buying like a slightly inferior version for $3 more? I'm just saying, if you can get this guy for $6, get him for $6 and forget about the Spin Master version, honestly. Another thing that I should point out, and a lot of people I've seen point this online, is like, I'm lining them up as close to the bottom of the feet as possible. The Spin Master version is significantly taller than the Kenner version. And that was not the case with Two-Face. I think Two-Face was a little taller in the Kenner version, but that was mainly because the Spin Master version has like a wider stance. But yeah, he's a little bit bigger than the Kenner version. And also, this is not the same sculpt of the hand on here either. They did just make an entirely new hand sculpt and stick it on this guy, I think. But you can see how, like, the Kenner version, it's got like a little more detail to it, and it looks a little more realistic, and this one looks a little more sort of cartoonish. I don't know why they bothered to do that. There seems to be no like, I can understand why they'd resculpt this one because they want to take the control out of it. But there's just no point to resculpting this right hand. The right hand was perfectly fine. It was a perfectly fine right hand. Why did you bother with that? If you're going to resculpt anything, maybe add some detail to this guy's back so it doesn't look like that. If anything, they took detail off of it because there's a little round button. See that in the center of the Riddler's strap there, right here? You see that little round button? That's gone from this one for whatever reason. I don't know why they did that. The clamp that's around his wrist, and in fact, there's kind of like what looks like an elastic strap sculpted into the figure there, right where the clamp meets the glove. You see right in between. There's like what looks like a little elastic strap. It's still sculpted into this one. The whole clamp looks pretty much the same. It's just they just took out the grip and the wires that are connected to it. It looks like most of the rest of these tech details are the same. I don't see any other obvious changes they made to it. So if there are any changes that they did make, they're more subtle. I will say that this is a more glossy black paint that they used on the Spin Master version versus the Kenner version, if you can make that out. So no accessories to this guy whatsoever, no backpack, although we can put the backpack from the Kenner version on him if we want to. So at least we get a look at what that might look like if he had to come with the same accessories. And it really would have been nice if he had to come with a cane. Like I said, the Kenner version, this is the only accessory he had. He didn't come with a cane. The 2-pack version, the one that actually looks like the movie, that one came with a cane, but I don't know where my cane is right now. It's missing somewhere. It was a little bit of an oversized cane, but he had one. So yeah, so far with this line, I kind of feel like we're 0 for 2 in terms of are they worth buying? Because like I said, while they're not really bad figures on their own right, you know, we already have, if you're like me and you already have the original figures, I already have this Riddler and a better version of this Riddler. And I have a version of the Riddler that I like even better than that, with a less accurate paint job, but it's a paint job I like. So and with Two-Face, you know, the Kenner version of Two-Face is superior to this version of Two-Face. So yeah, I gotta say, if somebody asked me, should I just buy the originals or should I, you know, get the new ones? I gotta say, get the original ones instead. If you only want to pick one, yeah, go with the original ones. That's what you got to go with. That's what I got to say about that. And I'm sorry to say this because I really do like the idea of this line, and I want to see more of these. And I know they're going to do the Michael Keaton Batman and the Christopher Reeve Superman figures, and I'm really looking forward to those. And I want to see more after that. I think that this has got like a lot of potential for Spin Master to do some really cool stuff. But I think they just missed the mark with these two figures, just barely. And it's so frustrating because with just a few minor changes, these figures could have been great. Like if this Two-Face figure had have had a normal sized right hand and had have had the white on the lapel like he's supposed to have, I would go ahead, even with the hair being the wrong color on the scarred side, I would say this would be better than the Kenner figure. It is better in some ways, but overall, I think the Kenner figure is still superior just because there's so many flaws with this figure that I have to point out and I have to count off for them. I'm sorry. And likewise, like the first mistake that Spin Master made with their version of the Riddler was picking this sculpt to go with. Because like I said, this isn't even the movie accurate sculpt. They should have gone with the 2-pack sculpt. They should have just done this exactly as it is and given him a cane. And if they had done that, it would have been, I think, these figures have been flying off the shelves. I'm going to say that. I'll say that for them. But I think they would be even more popular if they used this sculpt of the Riddler rather than this sculpt of the Riddler. Because not only is this a better figure in every possible way, but it's also a more difficult figure to find. You go and you look for Kenner Batman Forever Riddler action figure on eBay, and you're going to find a lot more of these two guys than this guy. You might find more of this guy than this guy, but that's not saying much. Those are still going to be like the more difficult figures to find, is the ones from the 2-pack or the Talking Riddler. And those are like the two best Riddler figures in this line, bar none. And then this guy would be the third best because I really like I said, I just think that's a cool color scheme. I really like that one. Even if it's not movie accurate, it's not a movie accurate figure anyway. So we might as well have some fun with it, right? Anyway, I'm sorry that I have to be so negative about the Spin Master Riddler. I wish that I could give you a better review of both of these figures, but it's so they're so frustratingly close to being good figures, but like while they're not really necessarily bad figures either, they're not as great as they could be. So a little disappointing there, but we still got two more figures in this wave to open. Hopefully they can turn it around and really impress me. So next episode, I'll be opening up Robin, and as I pointed out before, Robin is based. Their version of Robin is based on the Hydroclaw Robin figure. So we'll be talking a little bit about him when we open that up. And then finally, I will open up Batman. I'm saving him for last. So I'm pretty sure Batman's going to be the best figure, since, I already basically talked about that same Batman sculpt when I opened up the Batmobile for this line, which, by the way, that Batmobile is awesome. Even if all these figures were duds, I'd be happy that they did this line just for that Batmobile, because that Batmobile is great. I absolutely recommend the Batmobile. But the Riddler, I can't really recommend him too much. There's not really much to recommend this figure. Like, if this were a harder to find or more expensive figure, I might, just on that merit alone, be like, well, it's easier to get than the older figure. But this is a very plentiful and cheap figure to buy. I guarantee you can go on eBay and find one of these for less than you would pay for one of these. So, and then I see a lot of people like selling the new Spin Master Batman for figures on eBay and just selling them for like a major profit. And I'm like, no, guys, don't pay that much for these. You're going to be able to find these, I'm sure. Like I said, like I was able to find all of them, and they sell pretty fast. But I'm pretty sure once the supply catches up with the demand, they're going to be easy to find. So anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Next episode is going to be Robin. If you want to make sure you don't miss that, make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the Riddler, both the character in general and this figure specifically. And what do you think is the best of the Kenner Batman Forever Riddler figures? I mean, me, like I said, I kind of feel like the 2-pack version is the best, because it's not only a better sculpted figure, but it's more accurate to the movie. And then, like, if I had to pick one version of this particular sculpt, I would go with the black version, just because I think it's just cool looking. So, but that's it for this episode. I'll be back sometime tomorrow, probably, and if not, it'll be the day after, because I know I'm really tired and I gotta get some rest. So, but I'm gonna try to do one tomorrow. All right. Real quick, Jason's Electric. Yeah, I get caught up in being impatient and paying too much on eBay. Well, there is such a thing as getting them first prices. And I myself recently purchased a McFarlane Page Punchers Shazam that because it's impossible to find that figure online right now. So I had to get one on eBay, and I wound up getting actually the platinum variant version, because it was cheaper than the standard version. That's how crazy the demand is for that Shazam figure, is that the platinum version, which should be the more rare version, I was actually able to get for cheaper. Go figure. But I actually like the look of the platinum version better. And well, I'll talk more about that when I get it, but it's based on that specific version of the Captain Marvel archetype, we'll put it that way. That specific version was based on a specific comic book story that I'm a big fan of. So I would have wanted to have that anyway. But I don't know if I want it to be my default Captain Marvel figure. So we'll just see. Maybe hopefully I can find that the other one sometime. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. Make sure that you don't miss the Robin episode that's coming up. the third part of our unboxing and comparison with the Kenner figures, and then finally Batman later this week. And then, time permitting, I will hopefully have one more episode where I open up another DC Multiverse figure. I don't want to say which one yet. I don't want to say which one. I just want you guys to be surprised. So, but we'll have that. Oh, good morning. How am I? I'm tired. I'm about to go. I'm about to go to sleep. I just got off of work, but so I work overnight. But yeah, I'm about to wrap this up. You can go back and watch the replay if you want to hear me talk more about this figure. But I hope you're having a good one, Keegan. So it's the start of the day for most people, but for me, it's the end of the. Much like Batman, I'm a creature of the night. So when you're nocturnal like me, it's better to work overnight, and then I go to sleep around the time that everybody else is waking up, because I am not a morning person. Oh well, thank you. I appreciate that. I always like when people subscribe. I always like it when people enjoy the content. So it's nice of you to stop by. So anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time.